Welcome to the Mike Kellar Show. This is a signing day special. Coach, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Coach. It was a big day yesterday for signing day. You signed 31 total kids, if my count is right. You started first with the mid-year class. You had 6 from Fork Union Military. You grabbed 5 from the JUCO ranks, 1 from Milford Academy, familiar face there, 1 from the Division I ranks, Charles Southern, and 1 D2 transfer from West Liberty. You had a transfer, he's not a mid-year, but also from Georgia Military, and Kaylon Curry. First starting with Fork Union Military, like I said, you had 6 there. You had Kayvon Blanding, who's a defensive back, Darius Bowman, offensive lineman, Brickshaw Davis, offensive lineman, Omar Diallo, defensive back, Zaire Mike, a running back, and Darius Johnson, a cornerback. Just talk about that Fork Union squad right there.
Yeah, we've been going there for a long time, and Coach McIntyre went down to they have a day there where they kind of scrimmage and put guys through the drills. And, back when I was a young coach, I used to go there every year, and there'd be 900 coaches there. Now with the portal and everything, there's hardly anyone down there. So what we found out is, some of those pools of players are back open to us that were really hard for us in the past. So, Milford in the past has been really good to us. Now Fork Union's been really good to us, and we're able to get a couple offensive linemen. And really, the other 4 kids you talked about there that were running back DB, they were all running back and they were all DB. And just kind of getting them here. Our philosophy with this thing is get them here in the spring. I would rather have a kid here who's here going through winter conditioning, who's going through skills and drills, who will eventually go through spring football, and we get to train and see. So, like you got a kid like the Johnson kid, he'd been killing it, in our runs and all that. And now, is he going to be a corner? Is he going to be a running back? Well, I'm not so sure he can be the best on both. So it just kind of depends where the other guys are at and how we move guys around. But those kids next year will be freshmen on our roster, but they'll really be kids who kind of had a 13th grade, so to speak, and have been with the program for 6 months. So that's a huge coup for us if we could get that.
And then I mentioned the Division II transfer. You got Landon Fry from West Liberty. As a kid you actually recruited last year, he had a heck of a high school career over at North Marion. Had that top catch of the year by Metro News, I believe it was, or one of those outlets. Yeah. He's a tight end H-back. What do you like about him?
I think he was on Sports Center.
His Sports Center was, I can't think of the name right now.
It was something. But
Max Preps, catch of the year.
Yeah, yes. he had that one-hand catch in the state championship. I was on the sideline when he made that catch. It was a heck of a catch. No, we liked him. We got a few of his teammates. We've really done well with North Marion over the years, and we think he fits that H-back type of kid for us who's kind of in between bodies. He's not that 6'5", 240-pound tight end that everyone's looking for, but yet he's not that tall, lanky. Am I a receiver? Am I an X-receiver? Or am I tight end? And I'm really too slow to play X and too small to play tight end. He's that new body type that you see everyone going to with that 6 foot, 6'1", 215-pound guy who could get in there and insert on some of your runs and be part of the RPO or leverage throw in your pass game. And with him, he really takes to the pass game really well. We had one skills and drills that day, and he made 2 or 3 really good catches. And I thought to myself, well, he hasn't lost anything as far as his hands go.
And then at the Division I ranks, you grabbed one, Ray Jefferson from Charleston Southern. Really excited to talk about him. He's a 6 foot, 200-pound linebacker out of Orlando, Florida. He played in 21 games over 3 seasons with Charleston Southern. He had 56 total tackles, 8.5 TFLs, 1 sack, and 1 fumble. In 1 year, he had 9 tackles at Clemson, nationally ranked Clemson. So what did you like about him when you brought him in?
Well, the Cava family from Clarksburg actually put us on. His high school, one of his high school defensive coordinator married a girl who's from Clarksburg. Went to school with Coach Mayer, and our president, Dr. Manchin, called me one day and said, "Hey, I got this kid," and usually him calls don't. The player ain't very good, but we got that call and we checked him out, and Ray's a really good football player. So I was driving to Charlotte for the coaches convention and got on a conference call with him and his grandma and his uncle, and somewhere between here and there, he said, "You know what, Coach, I'm going to get on a plane if you could wait till Tuesday." And I said that was perfect. So we waited and got him, and he's going through winter conditioning, and he sure looks the part. We'll see how well he pads up and plays for us. But from all the video we saw and the way he could go through some of the drills that we're putting through so far, that was a really good get for us. In a needed position because we got hurt there with graduation.
And then you grabbed 5 from the JUCO ranks, 3 from Monroe College. Aaron Harris, defensive lineman, Jalen Long, a linebacker, and Joe Pronchik, also a defensive lineman. What'd you like out of those 3 cats that you brought in?
Well, Jalen Long's an outside backer, maybe a defensive end. He's that we just label him as an edge guy.
6'3", 230, fits the part.
Yeah, 100%. And he's kind of like what Jameer Diaz was for us in the fact that Jameer came in as a running back, and then Chucky Hytham back in the early '90s when he played here for Coach Rod. A guy who gets Jalen got recruited as a DB, grew into linebacker, Dorian Monroe, and probably will leave here as a defensive end. He just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger every time I see him. So he's a guy who can rush the passer. Harris is a first, second down nose guard. He's that 300-plus pound guy who's going to play for you on run down, help your goal line, short yardage defense. And then Joe Pronchek has got a chance to be, I think, real. We got hurt there with Isaiah Macklin graduating. And we put Joe's tape in, and, Isaiah wore 97, Joe wears 97. They're very similar guys. He's a guy that looks like he weighs 240. We weighed him in at 285. I couldn't believe it. When he was running the other day when we were doing our running conditioning program, he took his sweatpants off and had his shorts on, and I got to see where the 285 is. It's all in his legs. So and he's a super strong kid. It's cliche, but you really went up front, and that D-line position was much needed for us, and probably you're going to see that theme throughout, this recruiting class.
And then another guy who fits the part, Jamar Grimble. He's a defensive lineman transfer.
Yeah, another one, yeah.
Georgia Military College. What do you like about him?
He's long. He's Josh Carr kind of. Maybe Josh Carr was second team All-League for us, and seemed like he was here since forever. And played for us a bunch. And Grimble's that same mold. He's a long, twitched up guy. Moves really well, goes through the bags and all that. Tough. Georgia Military. He's got a bunch of good football players, and we were fortunate enough to get a couple. But really, if those four guys you just named, that could be our starting front. Now there's guys who are returning who may have something to say about that. But all those years at Cal with all the wins we had, you really, if you could play quarterback and block them up front, and then have 7, 8, 9 defensive linemen, then you figuring the rest of it's a little bit easier.
And then sticking with Georgia Military College, Kalen Curry, outside linebacker, 6'3", 220. He's not a mid-year guy, but he's still a transfer. What did you like about him?
Yeah, we could have got him at mid-year, but the junior college rules with how many maths and sciences hadn't been changed yet, and he's going to go back and graduate with his AA. He wanted to stay and do that from Georgia Military. Good kid, good grades, all that. Very much that outside backer, kind of like we were talking about before. That long outside backer who could rush the passer. I heard Matt Rule say when he was when he left the Panthers that 40 sacks equals 10 wins in college football. So they play a little bit more games than us. So we're saying 35 sacks could equal 9 wins on our schedule now. That's a lot of sacks, but you're basically trying to get people. You're trying to stop the run on first, second down, and third down. You're trying to put all those guys on the field that you can and let them rush the passer, so you could drop all your athletes back into coverage. And those pass rushers, they make your secondary better. They make your coaches look smarter. You just can't get enough of them.
And then turning over to the offensive side of the ball, you got Ben Kilgore. He's a junior offensive lineman, transfer from Hudson Valley Community College. He's a JUCO All-American, 6'5", nearing 300 pounds. You lost some offensive lineman this year, so what made you want to get him and bring him in for this class?
Well, we thought we were losing 4 starting offensive linemen. I think we're going to get Josiah Wade back. He's got to set out this semester, but he'll be back in the fall. So that's like picking a mid-year pickup or starting left tackle. And then if we could get him and put him at right tackle, then you're really in business. Now, working with him, he may be a guard, maybe a tackle. We signed a year ago. We really went hot and heavy on offensive linemen. So I was really happy with our 2-line a year ago, how they developed, and we'll see if that continues to develop. I think that's going to be a good group. But then I thought, we're going to play all these redshirt freshmen or sophomores. They're going to be starting, and I like their bodies. I like their size. I like their work ethic. I like how coachable they've been. But it'd be nice if we got an older guy in there, and that was a big for Ben to get him and let him be one of them guys who, obviously we're planning on starting. We'll see how spring ball goes for him to earn it. But for us to get a guy who come in and has played a lot of college football was a big get for us at mid-year.
And then looking overall at the mid-year transfer class, like you mentioned, you lost some guys on the defense side of the ball, especially at linebacker. You lose 3 of your 5 starting offensive linemen. You brought back most on offensive, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, that stuff. Yeah. But when you look at the class, what do you like about it?
It hit what we needed. Our skill was all returning. Now defensively we had to revamp that D-line. Offensively, we had to kind of revamp the O-line because, like you said, we were losing 3 starters. And then, then we got hurt in the secondary, with some at corner with some graduation. So at mid-year to be able to go out and recruit guys who at least physically, we didn't go from 22-year-old kids starting to 18-year-old kids starting on the defensive front. At least physically, we got some men coming in who are 20, 21 years old, and they're juniors, and they should help us and give us some depth there. That helps us because that secondary, we're veteran and pretty sporty at the safety positions, but those corners are going to be rookies, and these coaches in this league and these quarterbacks in this league, they got a tendency to find them, but they're really good athletes. They're here at mid-year. And our coaches get a chance to coach them, and if that front's good enough, that'll save that secondary from having to cover too long.
And with the mid-year class as well, do you feel like they get a little bit more of an advantage than the guys come in the summer or the fall
Totally.
as they are able to work with the team more?
I think the summer portals is kind of crazy. Now they're talking about making it one date, and I don't know how the Division I's do it with their calendar. It's kind of crazy to me, but to me, the success that we could have is in the winter portal. So if we're able to get, I don't know what you said, our number was like 14, 15 mid-year kids, something like that. If we're able to get those and add them to the group that we just lost, then it helps your numbers for spring ball. It helps your drills. It helps everything you're doing. It gives you a lot of competition. But those kids now get a 6-month head start on the guys who are coming in the summer.
And now moving over to the high school class, you signed 18 guys. You got 9 from here in the state of West Virginia, 4 from the state of Virginia, 4 from Florida, which all came from the same high school in Madison County, and then 1 from Ohio. First, starting, or I'll talk about the each class as well. On the position side, you got 2 quarterbacks, 4 running backs, 2 tight ends, 2 offensive linemen, 4 linebackers, 2 DBs, and 1 athlete. First, starting with the quarterbacks, Liam McGuire and Noah Vilathambi. 2 All-State guys, 2 Conference Player of the Years in the respective conferences. What do you like about those guys?
Ain't that crazy? Liam came to us in early December, one of our early visits for the high school guys, and committed right away. And to be honest with you, I didn't think I'd recruit another quarterback, and we were super excited, and I know he could start for us. I know he could start in this league. And then the last weekend, Noah, which we've been talking to the whole time, he becomes available for us. And, I had him as a quarterback / athlete. He started outside linebacker. I think his junior year, he was a tailback. So I thought, well, he could play a multitude of positions. Well, then when I went back and watched his tape again, I sat and talked with him. He's a quarterback who's an athlete, not an athlete playing quarterback. So I got 2 really good guys there. The way the quarterback works at this level, one of them guys will come in, they'll make the room better. One of them will battle it out. We got 2 kids from the year before, too, so someone will eventually emerge as a starter. Then the other guy, like in Noah's case, he can move to another position. Or guys, a lot of times with the portal and the way things are now, guys transfer out. So if you don't have a good quarterback, you got no shot. And if you don't have a guy who can handle coming in and having competition, then you don't have a good quarterback. So that was important to us. Both those kids understood that. They both were All-State, both players of the year, both really good players. Had them at camp. Just super excited about those guys and their possibility. Now a lot of water got to go under the bridge. They got to get trained up and all that. But I'm excited about those guys.
Then moving to running back, it's some more All-State, All-Region type guys: Eli Bartley, Micah Brown, J.J. McDaniel, and Jaquil Shelton from here in State. Yeah. What do you like about the running back class?
Well, Bartley and Shelton are both Parkersburg guys. One went Parkersburg South, one's from Parkersburg. Most high schools, what do? They put their best player at tailback. So I think you're naturally going to sign a lot of tailbacks naturally, and a lot of times they'll go play DB or wide receiver or move different positions. All them guys are used to carrying the ball 35 times a game their whole life. They'll get to college, get to about 15, and realize they don't want to carry it 35. So you need to have depth there. They all bring something. Brown was a kid who he was too good a player to pass up. And I brought him in. I sat him down with his parents and said, I didn't know exactly what we were going to do with you, but after seeing you and seeing your talent level, I'm just not going to. I'd rather have 1 too many than 1 too less. And McDaniel, I'll tell you why we took McDaniel. He's a Madison County kid. He rushed for all these yards. He tore his knee as a junior. He came back as a senior, and when he got healthy, I think he ended the season with like 1,500 yards. He took him to a state championship. His coach swears by him. He's one of the toughest guys. And when I watched his high school tape, I saw the kid at Charleston who's
Siobhan Wright.
Yeah. And then I went back and watched Siobhan Wright's tape, and they remind me of each other. Now, that's a lot to put on that kid. I don't know that he's going to be that. I would never guess Siobhan was going to be what he is. Yeah. But I thought, you know what? Again, I'd rather have one too many. And he's a 220-pound back, so he's a little bit different. He could definitely fit worst case scenario, that goal line short yardage back that you're looking for.
And then at tight end, you signed Gavin Murphy and Greg Davidson. Davidson is 6'5" tight end. So what do you like about those two guys?
Body types, I always sign too many tight ends. That's been my MO my entire life, and I'm proud of it because I don't think you get enough of those body types. I mean, if I went back throughout my coaching life, I mean, those guys have grown in to being slot receivers, to being offensive tackles, to playing defensive end, to being third and short backside tight ends in your run game, to being your starting tight. I mean, you don't seem like you never have enough of them guys. When I first came here, we were doing our field goal team, and to find 2 tight ends and 2 wings. Hell, I mean, you needed to go up to the cafeteria to find them. I mean, there wasn't enough of them bodies on our roster. So anytime we could get that body and that 6'3" to 6'5", 6'6" body, a lot of them kids in high school, they're going to be 215 to 220. Guys who will come here and work and leave here at 245, 250, then we're going to do it every time.
And then closing out the offensive side of the ball for the class, you got some few offensive linemen. You mentioned last year you went really heavy in offensive line, so you didn't have to go as many this year. Yeah. You got Logan Hurley and Riley Hatfield, who both come from Mingo Central. What do you like about those two guys?
They both are great kids. They're both good kids. We got a relationship with Mingo. We've had camps down there, and we need depth. We like to have 20 offensive linemen every year. Now, you're going to travel about 10, develop 5, and then 5 are going to be your scout team guys. Both those kids got the bodies, especially Hurley, that got the bodies to eventually play here. I don't need them to come in and play. I need them to come in, and they understand that. I need them to come in and be on the scout team and learn every day and go through all the drill work and develop into players and then start here their junior, senior year. That would be the ideal rotation for those type of guys.
And then moving back over to the defense side of the ball, start out with linebackers. It's a spot where I believe you lost all 3 of your starters from last year.
Yeah.
So you brought some in from the midyear. You also signed 4 in the high school class, 2 from the in-state, and Ty Mitchell and Taylon Snyder, and then a few guys from Florida, Kamari Scurry and Octavius Hodge. What do you like about those 4 guys?
Well, Octavius was on that same team, that Madison County team, and it was. I'll tell you how it happened. Is Coach Trickett, who used to coach here, is at Jacksonville State now, called and said, he's recruiting, and you need to look at these kids at Madison County. They got a bunch of skills. So he gives me that call. I call the head coach. The head coach calls me back, and before I know it, I'm on. We had 3 initially, and then when we got Scurry late because Mississippi Valley State dropped him, and he's really we listed him at linebacker, but he's that edge guy too. So you're really getting a lot of talent there. And then the 2 in-state guys we knew about, and the kind of that same deal. Linebackers are like running backs. You got to have them because they run down on kicks. They play guard on your punt team. They're fullbacks in your kickoff return team. It's just. People don't think that. They just see the 2 guys in there on first, second down, stop and run. They don't realize how many guys you need in that room for that position to be productive.
And then now the defensive back spot, you brought into Josiah Berberena and Sean Williams, also from Madison County, Florida. Looking at those 2 guys, what do you like?
Berberena's long. I mean, he's a long safety, could play. I think most of his video was at corner. We're kind of protect. All these defensive back coaches, Coach Mayer, they're different. They all want to sign 6'3" corners, and then move them to all 5 secondary spots, and that's a great philosophy. But it's easier said than done. He's especially at Glenville. He's a long guy. He's a Northern Virginia guy. He could cover some space. He loves football. He's excited about football. Came in that early December visit, committed to us. I feel like he's not even in this class. I feel like I've already had him because he's been committed for about 2 months.
Yeah,
now.
I believe he was one of the first ones to commit in this class.
Yeah, for sure, right? And then Williams, Madison County, he was the first tape of those 4 kids that I saw, and he's super explosive. He's not as big as I would like. He's not that 6'1" guy. He's more like 5'8", 5'9". But he's super explosive. He starts on the basketball team. He may be the best athlete in that school. Which is saying a lot because they're state champs, and they got the defensive player of the year and the offensive player of the year. But as far as pure athleticism, he's pretty twitched up and a very competitive guy. And so again, he's a guy that we just couldn't pass up.
And then you signed 1 athlete. He came from Bridgeport High School. You've had some success there in the past. Hayden Moore comes to mind immediately.
Yeah.
Alex Moses, he played both sides of the ball. I mean, he's a multiple-time All-State guy. What did you like about him?
Well, I think we were leaving the Wheeling game, and Pat George, whose son Ben plays for us, grabbed me and said, Chris, who's my son Jacob's godfather, he's got a son on that Bridgeport team who's probably the best player ever to play at Glenville, Chris George, said, you need to take a look at Alex Moses. So that's all really the recommendation I needed. And then Mike Lopez, who coached with me at Cal and at Lenore Ryan, he's got a son on that same team, and he put me on another kid who's committed to us, but I don't have the paperwork yet, and I can't say his name. But we were able to. I put Alex's tape on, and it was the West Fairmont game, and I mean they're pitching it to him. He's going down the sideline. They're handing it to him. He's breaking tackles, and then on defense, he's knocking balls down. He's making tackles, and we list him as an athlete. He could probably start at tailback, receiver, or any of the 5 DB spots eventually here. We were starting out with him in the secondary just because we had more. You started this interview talking about how we had attrition in the secondary and we didn't have it on the offensive side of the ball with the skills. So we're sticking him over there just to kind of get this thing started. A lot of water goes under the bridge between now and our first game, so that thing could get moved back. But right now, we couldn't be happier. And the world's so small. Like I told you, all the people he knows. When he comes here for a visit, his mother ran track for Coach Skiles at West Virginia Wesleyan. He's our AD. So we had to try to screw that one up to not get him, but we couldn't be happier that he's here.
And now looking at the high school class in total, you signed 18 guys. I mean, it's a lot of all-state guys, player of the years type players. I mean, it's a really put together high school class. When you look at it, what do you see?
I tell you, after hearing you say it and look at it, it's more impressive than I thought. Here's what I say about these recruiting classes. You should be interviewing me now for what my recruiting class was 2 years ago. I couldn't be happier about this class. I know how much work went into it. I know how much work you did. Taking pictures and getting all the social media and the signing day, and then I think of all the work the coaches did and how many times we talked about these kids and camp and all this. And you think you put together a really good class, and I have no doubt that we did. But really, the truth of the matter is, a lot of times when these kids sign in high school, they think, "Oh God, now finally, now I know, now it's over with." No, it's just beginning. It's just beginning. Now you gotta put a lot of work in so that you could, hopefully 4 years from now you're leaving here with some conference championships and a degree and a lot of, the guys who can handle that and do that and handle the adversity of college football. Those are the guys that'll be great players here. But that group definitely has the arms and legs and they're all good kids. They're all good academically. We're super proud of that class, and now they got to come in and let us coach them, and we've got to coach them. We can't. I just feel like nowadays too many times it's all, well, you got these kids on Twitter and it's all, all happy. My brother, all these people will call me and be like, "Oh, you guys did a good job." I'm like, "I don't know. We'll see." But these guys got to come in and we got to coach them hard, and the good players will want to be coached hard, and that's kind of our job.
And we both mentioned, the caliber of players that you're bringing in right now. When looking back at last year, the success you had, 7 wins in the Mountain East Conference, most since joining the MEC. You get a Defensive Player of the Year in Jameer Diaz. You get Freshman Player of the Year on the defensive side of the ball. But when these recruits look coming here into Glenville, they now see that you can't only succeed here in the Mountain East Conference. You can also Jameer Diaz was an All-American. So how did last year's success and the Player of the Year, Defense Player of the Year help when signing these guys for this year's class?
I think it definitely helps. I tell them all the time, like, we're not naive to this, man. They all wanted to play at Alabama.
Obviously,
I did too. I want to coach there.
Exactly.
We all understand that, but you could reach your hopes, goals, and dreams from here. You could come here and get your degree and meet your future wife and grow as a person and play good football and get opportunities for football after here if you just do everything right here. I think the thing I'm most proud about is our retention rate as an athletic department was 97%. At Glenville in the NLI era, in the portal era, for us just to lose Jameer Diaz, which is kind of, and if he don't get the Sam Houston offer at the end, he stays with us. So for that to be our case, that makes me feel like we as a school we're doing something right.
And then last thing I want to talk to you about, like you mentioned the portal area, just everything's changed with even when you came here in 2019, your first year, everything's changed now looking to 2025. How has recruiting changed from then to now, especially with portal guys and with high school guys?
I think it's totally different. I mean, I was told recruits this, in 2018, from the time I started coaching in, 94, 95, whenever it was, to 2018, December 1st, I was in 4 high schools that day or 5, and the same the next day and the next day and the next day. And I don't ever remember seeing the school I was working at in December. Here, the last few years, I don't know if I've been on the road hardly in December. Every day it's a different kid wanting to come in and visit. Like you're planning on going to see these 3 kids in high school, and you get a call that this offensive tackle could visit, that Thursday, and then you're like, well, bring him in because we're going to sit and I'm going to meet with him. So, where it's different is it's kind of phased up a little bit, and it always was in phases, but it really so much now is, my first phase after the season's over, during Thanksgiving to break is to talk to the team we got, meet with them individually, and do your best to keep as many of them here as you can. Some of them you're trying to run out, but most of them you're trying, you're doing your best to keep here. And then December is about how many mid-year guys can we get. We lost 14 kids in graduation, bring 14 kids in. That's at mid-year graduation. That is critical. That helps you in so many ways. Now we could work with these kids. So now you're halfway home, and now January, you're doing a lot of the recruiting that you usually did in December. Now we're a little bit ahead of the game. It ain't like December 1st, we never heard of the kid. And we had those kids in the summer. We had them up here for home games, and we've got a relationship with them. But now you're doing everything you can to make sure you get them on your campus that January, or going to watch them play high school basketball, or doing something, in that January, so that you get them here for the signing day. And now it's all development, do these interviews, do all development with when I leave here, we got a skills and drills here in a little bit, coach the team you got, go through spring ball, and then there's another phase. You go through spring ball and you say, this one position group wasn't as good as I thought it was, or this other one was better than I thought it was. So now you're back in the summer portal and trying to. There's a reason all these guys are retiring when they get older. I mean, it's just there is really no downtime.
Well, Coach, congrats on another good class. We'll talk to you probably at the end of spring, and thanks for coming on today.
I appreciate you.